I know, you thought it couldn't happen here. You sat there and you watched it all. You shrugged, you scrolled past, you said, it's not that bad. But guess what? You're the frog and the water's boiling. You thought that you were immune, didn't you? You thought your freedom was some indestructible thing, something that just is, like it's gravity or a sunrise. You normalize the abnormal. You rationalize the unthinkable. Because bad things, they happen to other people and other places. They happen in the history books that you didn't open in high school. Well, congratulations. You're writing the next chapter. And you're about to find out what happens when good people do absolutely nothing. You shrugged when you saw the salute. It was taken out of context. You debated what it really was. You gave them the benefit of the doubt. That salute, it wasn't for the crowd. It was for you. It was saying, we can do this in broad daylight now. We can show you exactly who we are, and you'll still make excuses for us. And you did. You normalized it. Remember the pardons? 1,500 rioters released, consequences erased. The message crystal clear. Storm the halls of democracy for me, and you'll walk free. You watched them tear down the rule of law and replace it with loyalty tests. You watched them turn law and order into rules for thee, but not for me. And you called it politics as usual. And then they fired the watchdogs. 15 inspectors general gone overnight. The people's whose job it was to catch corruption swept away like dust. You know what that's called? That's called removing the smoke detectors before you burn the house down. That's called cutting the brake lines. That's called preparation. But you think that checks and balances will keep everybody in line. And then they made churches and schools their hunting ground. Those people weren't supposed to be here anyway. So you worried about the cost of eggs. They strangled the press, cut their funding, restricted their access, sued them into submission because to erase the message, you must eliminate the messenger. Public access revoked, funding cut. You watched your access to truth get choked off, and you called it media bias. They carved up the very institutions that were trying to warn you. But you don't trust the mainstream media, so it didn't really matter. And the pot back then was only just getting warm. Then they gutted education. Universities threatened with defunding for ideological overreach, for teaching history, science, and critical thought. The Department of Education gutted. Massive layoffs. Civil rights enforcement eliminated. They looked at your children's future and said, we can't have them question authority. It's easier to control a population that doesn't know how to think. But your kids are grown, so it really doesn't matter. They weaponized the government itself. Agencies restructured, expertise purged, mass layoffs. The DOJ turned into a personal law firm. The National Guard deployed against civilians. They took the machinery of government, your government, and they turned it into a weapon pointed at you. They ended birthright citizenship, something guaranteed by the Constitution for over 150 years, gone in a moment. If they can erase the Constitution with executive orders, what is protecting you? Can you feel the heat rising? They brought back racial profiling officially, legally, proudly. Citizenship is no longer something you're born into. They took your country backward 60 years and called it progress. They looked at civil rights and said, we don't need them anymore. And you stayed silent because you thought it wouldn't affect you. They erased Black history. They decided that Learning about America's actual history was too dangerous for Americans to know. They're rewriting the past because they're planning a very specific future, a future where none of this ever happened, where none of this was wrong. They sold your privacy, transferred sensitive federal data to private companies, to associates, to anyone with the right price. Your information, your security, your secrets for sale to the highest bidder. But sure, keep worrying about fuel prices. They targeted the homeless and protesters, arresting people for the crime of existing, designating people against fascism as terrorists. They looked at the most vulnerable people in society and decided they were the real threat. They looked at people opposing fascism and called them the problem, but you still don't feel the heat? They gutted worker protections, decades of labor rights gone, your workplace safety, your overtime pay, your right to organize eliminated because a desperate workforce is a compliant workforce, because broke people don't protest, because when you're worrying about feeding your family, you don't have time to worry about democracy. They blocked transparency. Jeffrey's papers, sealed. Encrypted communications, off the record, everything except for top secret communication. They look at accountability and they say it's not for us. They looked at your right to know and said, that's not for you. And you let them. You're starting to realize how hot the water truly is and that it can't get any hotter, that you can ride this out. You have privilege, you have geography, politics, and silence on your side. But when they're done with everyone else, they'll come for more. The journalists, the teachers, the union workers, anyone who donated to the wrong candidate or posted the wrong thing on social media. They won't stop feeding. They'll just look for new meat. You can't avoid this. Here's what's next. Everything you buy is about to get more expensive. Your job is about to get less secure. Your retirement is about to get smaller. And when you're standing in line at the food bank, when you're choosing between paying rent, groceries, and electricity, when you're watching your kids wear the same two small shoes for the third year in a row, remember this moment. Your water, it's about to get dirtier. Your air is about to get more toxic. Your children are about to get sicker. And when you're sitting in the oncologist's office, when you're watching your neighborhood flood for the third time this year, when you're explaining to your grandchildren why the seasons don't work anymore, remember this moment. Your medicine is about to get more expensive and less safe. Your hospitals are about to get overwhelmed and understaffed. And when you're rationing insulin, when you're choosing which family members get treatment, when you're going bankrupt from a broken bone, remember this moment. Your children are about to inherit a country where ignorance is policy, where science is opinion, where history is whatever those in power say it is. And when your kids can't compete in the global economy, when they can't think critically, when they can't tell fact from fiction, remember this moment. They're building a system where they know everything about you and you know nothing about them. And when they're monitoring your texts, tracking your movements, scoring your loyalty, remember this moment. They're not going to stop with their critics. They're coming for anyone who dissents, anyone who resists, anyone who remembers what America used to be. And when they're coming to your door, remember this moment. The scariest part is that you've convinced yourself this is normal, that this is politics, that this is just how things are now. You've boiled yourself into compliance. But the thing about being the frog in the boiling water, you still can jump out. This is your wake-up call. This is your moment to stop making excuses, to stop giving them the benefit of the doubt, to stop pretending this isn't happening. This is your moment to remember that democracy isn't a spectator sport, that freedom isn't a given. Your country isn't something that just exists. It's something you have to fight for every single day. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to vote in every election, local, state, federal, school board, city council, dog catcher, every single one. You're going to donate to candidates who believe in democracy, to organizations fighting for your rights, and to journalists telling the truth. You're going to volunteer for campaigns, for voter registration, for community organizations. You're going to speak up in your workplace, in your community, in your family. You're going to stop being polite about what's happening. You're going to organize with your neighbors, with your coworkers, with your friends. You're going to build the movement that saves democracy. And you're going to do it now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when it gets bad enough. Now, because if you wait for it to affect you personally, it's already too late. Because if you wait for someone else to save you, nobody's coming. Because if you wait for the perfect moment, there won't be one. The water is boiling. You can feel it, right? Your skin is starting to burn, your lungs are struggling, your children are looking at you, wondering why you're not moving. So move, jump, before there's nothing left, before there's nowhere left to go, before the water boils us all. This is your country. This is your democracy. This is your moment. Please don't waste it. Hey, I'm Kina. If you're new here, welcome. If you've seen me before, welcome back. I've gotten a lot of comments from many of you. You thought I stopped posting. I haven't. My channel's just been flagged. You can find me here every Monday and Thursday. You'll find me in your subscriptions feed. As always, links for the resources I used for the video are in the description. And if you've ever wondered how I find the articles that I use in these videos, I use Ground News. Ground News is an app and a website that combines news from around the world all in one place. And it allows you to compare. For every news source, you can see if they have a political bias and how reliable their reporting is and who actually owns them. I really like scouring the blind spot feed. It highlights news that disproportionately covered by one side of the political spectrum. I also appreciate that I can get my fill of US news and Spanish news all in one place. Subscribe through my link. It's in the video description. If you want to get 40% off of the Vantage subscription, that's the one that I use to get unlimited access to every feature. Your subscription not only helps my channel, but it also helps support Ground News as it makes the media landscape more transparent. I want to thank you for joining me, and I will see you next Thursday. You can watch this if you need a little bit more, and if you're not subscribed, you can subscribe here. I'll see you on Thursday. Okay, bye.